Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about validation rules in our Jump-In Jan. So if we have a look at leads, that's kind of where we're going to do our example validation rule. A great starting point is to do a validation rule around converting leads, because when you go to convert a lead, you want to make sure that you've got sufficient amount of information there to actually proceed with the sales process. Otherwise, you might have to go back and find stuff and then actually it's not worth it. So if we think about when we convert a lead, right, I'm just in this lead here, Brenda. When we convert a lead, what information do we really want to have? I would say as a minimum, email, absolutely. So let's make a validation rule, which is going to basically throw an error to the user if we try to convert a lead and it doesn't have a validation rule. And it doesn't have an email. So we want to make sure that every lead that we convert has an email to it. And that's really what validation rules are for. They're called validation rules because they're validating the data that the user is entering, and you can decide when to validate that data, which is really, really valuable. For example, if I was up here and I was going new lead, all right, and here you can see that we have some required fields like last name, company. All right, that's some sort of kind of a type of validation, but it's only really valid when we're first creating it. Whereas we want to make sure that email is in the lead by the time we go to convert. It doesn't matter if it's not there at the beginning, but when we go to convert a lead, it has to be there. So let's see what we can do here. From this lead, you'd want to go into your setup menu and then edit object, and that's going to take you to your setup, object manager, lead. And then once you're in here, you want to scroll down on the left-hand side and go to your validation rules down here. It's right down the bottom, so you might have to do a little bit of searching. And then we're just going to create new. We're going to create a brand new validation rule here. All right, let's call this one lead conversion validation. Okay, so we might say email field is required when converting leads. All right, and then when we're looking at this error condition formula here, the example that they give is that if the discount percentage is greater than 0.3, so 30%, then you display an error. All right, so the way that validation rules work and why they're quite confusing to people is because you're saying if this formula is true, then display the error. All right, so what are we trying to do here? We're trying to say, let's just write it out in plain English first. If the lead is converted, all right, so maybe we can just write that. If the lead is converted, and there is no email, then error. All right, that's what we're trying to do here. If the lead is converted and there is no email, then error. Now, how do we write this in formula speak in Salesforce? We start with our and function here. All right, so I'm just going to leave this one at the top just as a bit of a reminder for myself. But we start with this and then we have our first logical event and our second logical event, because we're saying they both need to be true in order for this to run, for this formula to be true, and then there be an error message. So our first one is that it is converted, and it's actually a very cool little function that we can use for that, which is quite literally just is converted. I like to put them on different lines to make it easier to read, but it's up to you. So we're saying, and this is converted means that the lead is converted. And then our second one is that if there is no email. So what we can do for that one is come to this function category over here and scroll down to, where is it? Is blank, right? And then insert that one. And this checks whether an expression is blank and then returns true or false. So that's perfect for us. And what we want to check is actually the email. So in here you would go insert field, and then in your fields you can search for email. There you go, beautiful. All right, and then just tidy it up. It's nice to keep things tidy. All right, remove your handy little message. All right, and then you always want to check your syntax, which is this button here, because it will tell you if you've done something wrong. So for example, if I put like a exclamation mark there and then went check syntax, it should tell me, oh, there's a mistake. Okay, sometimes it's not very helpful, like this one, missing bracket. Well, actually it's not quite that. So you've got to read between the lines sometimes, do a bit of searching. But my advice is to start small and then get bigger. So if you're trying to do a really massive validation rule, just start with something simple like this. All right, or maybe even more simple. All right, maybe you're just doing is blank, email is blank. All right, maybe you're not even saying when it's converted. Then you put in your error message here, and the error message might be to convert a lead, you must have an email field. You must have an email. All right. Or I would say, so a lead must have an email. Okay, and then maybe we put that at the top of the page, maybe by the email field. All right, let's go email here. And what we're going to do is just save it and then test it and see if it actually works. All right, so we've saved it. You can see it's active over here. It's all ticked. So I'm going to go into my lead. I'm going to refresh my page. It's always a good idea to refresh your page. And then we're just going to check whether this actually works. All right, and the way to check it is to basically try to convert a lead with a blank email field and then see if we get our handy dandy error message. All right, so in our faithful Brenda lead, all right, I'm going into details and I'm just going to remove the email here. Okay, like so. And then save it. And then we're going to try and convert the lead. So we're going up to converted, select converted status. All right, and I'm not really worried about much else here. I'm just going to try and convert it straight away and see if we get an error message, which we do. You know, this is always fun to test because you're always happy to see an error message when you're testing validation rules. Validation error on lead. To convert a lead, the lead must have an email. Well, it's a bit wordy, isn't it? So maybe I might go back and change that error message, but I think that looks really good. So it's not letting me go any further. I have to go back. And let's just check here. If I enter in the email and then I try to convert it, is it actually going to work? Let's find out. All right, so we're going in here. We're going to convert it. Fingers crossed. Yay! All right, so that worked perfectly. Really happy with that. If I go back to my object manager here, if I wanted to add something else in here, I totally could. Maybe I'm saying that it's not just the email field that needs to be filled out. Maybe the phone number field needs to be filled out, or maybe there needs to be a company field filled out. You can add those all in here as well. The only thing that I would really caution you on is that if you want to check if a pick list field is blank, you first have to convert that pick list field to a text field. So you can look for your text function in here. Where is it? Text. Here you go. All right, and then you put in your pick list, which is maybe something like, let's have a look. Lead source maybe. All right, and then you check if the whole thing is blank. Okay. Oh dear. Oops, that went back. But you get the idea, all right? So you just put in the is blank here. You would put text and then your pick list, so that it converts it to a text field first, and then it can check if it's blank. For some reason, the is blank doesn't like doing pick lists straight away. You have to first convert it to text. All right. So let me know how you go. Validation rules can be a little bit confusing if you're just starting out. the whole, if it's true, it shows an error, can really be a bit of a mental game to play with, but they're really fantastic, very useful, and I hope that this video helped with you understanding that. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.